Right on time. Welcome back to the library. Today is a special occasion. Today, I'm going to be reviewing my first TV show on my channel, and what better one to kick off with than FX's Alien Earth, which just aired its finale recently. I was very excited for this show, being a massive fan of the Alien franchise. The Alien franchise, like many others, has had its highs and its lows. It has now been 6 years since 20th Century Fox was bought by Disney and attained the rights to both the Alien and the Predator franchise. Some call that a blessing, some a curse. But so far, things are looking promising with Disney helming the Alien universe. Now, before I start talking about the actual show, I should warn you there will be spoilers ahead. There's your warning. Let's review. Alien Earth takes place in 2120, 2 years before the original Alien film. Right off the bat, they give us a 2-episode kickoff, and I was immediately enthralled by the production value we were given. The story focuses on several different characters who are all part of this new company, Prodigy, or the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, which we all know, giving a mix of old and new. That old familiar style of space isolation, 70s style spaceships, the wardrobe, everyone's sitting around the table talking to each other, the gothic horror vibes and prevalent in the earlier films are all front and present. Oh, and there's also a Xenomorph loose on the Weyland-Yutani spacecraft. Can't forget that one. There's also a new storyline here that serves as the main one in this show, and it features some new characters, corporations, scientific dilemmas, and one that does a great job of immediately grabbing your attention. The main story we have here follows a young girl named Marcy, and she is a terminally ill child who volunteers for an experimental procedure conducted by the Prodigy Corporation. Prodigy is the rival of Weyland-Yutani and is CEO'd by a young trillionaire by the name of Kid Cavalier, or what I like to call hippie Mark Zuckerberg. Marcy's consciousness and her personality is digitally transferred into the body of a synthetic android, and she becomes the first human synth hybrid, and that's where she's played by our lead actress, Sydney Chandler. In this operation, this first one is a success. Several other children are brought in and have the same thing done to them. Kid Cavalier names them all after Peter Pan characters, Marcy becoming Wendy, and each one of them taking one of the names of the Lost Boys. Once in their new bodies, these children can now live a life pain-free, physically acute, and superior. But that also means they belong to Prodigy. Another storyline is that of Wendy's brother. He's a field mechanic for the Prodigy Corps, and there's the eventual reunion he's going to have with his sister and the conflict there of her new status. And then the other storyline follows Morrow, the Weyland-Yutani cyborg on board the ship when it crashes, and a personal quest to deliver the specimens lost in the crash. All of these simultaneous storylines come crashing into one another one day when a Weyland-Yutani ship literally comes crashing out of the sky into the middle of an urban downtown city. Among the remains of the wrecked Weyland-Yutani ship are several previously recovered alien specimens, now loose inside. Wendy and her new synthetic brothers and sisters are sent to the ship to investigate, accompanied by Prodigy's main synthetic leader, Kirsch. Kirsch seems to have some ulterior motives, but at the same time, you can tell like he's restricted by his programmings. He's played in here by Timothy Olyphant. All these elements pay homage to Prometheus and Alien Covenant and the intriguing concepts they introduced without necessarily referencing them directly. Anyway, yeah, I will admit, those first 2 episodes of Alien Earth were so good, delivering us a good balance of action, introducing us to some brand new storylines and characters. It's a lot to take in, but it doesn't feel like they've overdone it. But you realize later that they kind of have, because after the first 2 episodes, the show as a whole really slows down, which I didn't have a problem with if it services things. For an 8-episode season, it felt like it drug its feet a lot, especially in the middle. Despite that fact, though, I couldn't help but still be intrigued and be drawn to the show. I mean, I was never bored. There's, a lot at play here. Human emotions, artificial intelligence logic, synthetic emotions are thrown into the mix, creating a doomed future that our characters can't even see yet. The aspects of life and death and immortality and the storytelling allegory of Peter Pan, how it ties into our young characters is a bit on the nose, and the show feels the need to constantly remind us about it, but it's still intriguing nonetheless. The evils and dangers of capitalist greed and scientific ambition are on full display in a world that just feels cold and unpredictable. Not to mention the absolutely primordial viciousness of the xenomorph creatures in here, and how good they look. The chase scenes are terrifyingly done, but they still do a good job of keeping these iconic monsters grounded and evolving their biology in some ways. It was risky showing a xenomorph in full daylight for the first time, and they keep it very sparingly, but I don't know if they were ready for that. It still was okay with me, though. Now, the finale of Alien Earth just ended not too long ago, and I'm a little mixed on the ending. We're essentially left in the middle of a conflict where everything's been building all season, and then it just kind of ends, and now we're going to have to wait probably 2 years to see what happens. I mean, they could have easily just had one more episode at the end. Now we're going to pick up 2 years down the road in the middle of a conflict that we saw the setup to 2 years ago. I don't know if it's going to tie into some movies later on. I mean, there were definitely some good satisfying moments that we've been wanting to see. Now, I do have a couple of issues with some of the writing in here. Mostly from episode 3 on. So this trillionaire boy genius, Kid Cavalier, who owns this private island and is innovative in science, he's about as egocentric a person you can think of, and he is agonizingly egocentric with a contrarian confidence that gets under your skin, but he seems to have no common sense. I mean, they play him very, misanthrope, but he's supposed to be a genius and have unlimited money, so I'm wondering why he only has, maybe 5 security guards in the whole compound. Why is there not security posted, in every room, or even, in the room where the alien species are being held that they just, captured. Now, this comes into play in a later episode. That later episode where Nibs has that moment where she gets a bit aggressive and pounces on and nearly attacks Dame Sylvia. Is there not a failsafe word or a code in place to, send them into standby mode or something for incidents such as this? I mean, standby mode, halt, override code, something. You mean to tell me the only form of emergency backup they have if any one of these new synthetic human hybrids decides to attack them and is clearly physically superior to them is to call for security and have 2 vastly under-equipped guards run into the room? I also think it's kind of funny when she wakes up later after they wipe her memory clean to try to fix that aggression. Why are there not any doctors or security in the room with her to monitor her when she first wakes up in case there's a problem? I mean, don't they think that might be a smart thing to do? But no, she wakes up and there to greet her, just casually sitting bedside, is Wendy, who immediately tells her everything that they just wiped her memory clear from and tried to make her forget. The long-awaited showdown between Kirsch and Mara was a bit of it wasn't what, after building it up so much, it didn't really live up to what we were expecting. What I do admire about this show is that it took a lot of chances with some new things while also giving us loyal fans everything we kind of want in an alien property. My biggest criticism really is that I feel like there were one too many storylines going on. I didn't even mention them all here. There's too many to go through and cover the whole show. You got to watch it for that. But I definitely covered a good amount of them. I feel like they just could have simplified the formula a bit because they really do throw a lot at you. What I would have wanted to see is a xenomorph loose on Earth. On Earth, actually, in a city somewhere. Not what they chose to do with it. It was still okay, but that's what I would have preferred, personally. Anyway, despite the very strong start and then the not so strong finish, I still really enjoyed Alien Earth, and it's one of the better shows I've seen this year. I wasn't blown away by it, but, let's see where things go from here. I'm going to give Alien Earth a 7.2 out of 10.